Um, trade deadline stuff is actually happening now.
Yeah, some no like gigantic deals have happened.
Well, no,
but
because
a couple good ones.
we like we talk about setting the market, right?
Yeah,
The market for this particular deadline is more, unless there's something like a Fleury or a Giroux trade that still can go down. I feel like this one is more depth oriented this year.
yes, this is very much going to be a depth oriented kind of deadline. I could see. I think Giroux is going to be traded.
Mm.
We're not 100% sure if there's going to be a trade for Fleury because again, that's dependent on if he's willing to move, and that's because that's a lot on his family.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But yeah, other than that, there's going to be a lot of depth pieces moved.
Giordano and that kind of thing. Like there's a lot of names, but at the same time, it's really just going to be depth UFAs and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But the two trades that recently happened, the Ducks traded Josh Manson to Colorado.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what the full package
Drew
was.
Helleson in the second.
Drew Helleson in the second is what they got. Okay. Which Helleson, just a few minutes before we started recording, signed his entry-level contract with the Ducks.
So that's good for them. He's a good prospect to have.
Mm-hmm. As far as Manson goes for the Avs, which is the big piece, right? This is the big part of the trade.
Yeah.
Isn't he more or less a third pairing guy at this rate in his career?
Yeah, I mean,
because you look at his numbers, I saw his JFresh card. It's like 18% WAR.
Yeah, so he was really good a couple years ago.
Yes, he was fantastic.
Top line, one of the better second pairing defensemen in the league. His numbers have dropped, but it's hard sometimes with the analytics to analyze it as to why there's been such a significant drop off.
Mm-hmm.
It comes with the fact that his finishing percentage is not nearly as high as it used to be. His offense hasn't been great. His defense has fallen off a little bit, but he's still good enough in transition, and he's not a total liability.
Mm-hmm.
And the Ducks are not a great team. It makes me think that going to a team like Colorado is going to help him.
Yeah,
and he can help them too. I think it's a good move for him.
Good third pairing guy with like
Nemeth, he'll be on the third pair.
Oh no, wait, Nemeth is in New York.
Yes,
isn't he? Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So
because obviously they got McCarr, they got Gerard.
Yep.
They got Taves, they got Johnson.
Poor Byram, man. I feel so bad for Bowen Byram.
And that's a good point because he's a good prospect. Obviously, he was 4th overall pick.
Yeah,
really talented. I think that there's a move to be made in the offseason for the Avs to help him move up. I think that they might highly consider moving Samuel Girard in the offseason.
To get Byram minutes?
To get him more minutes, but also Girard has taken a steep drop this year.
Mm-hmm.
He's not been nearly as good as he was last year.
One other thing on the Ducks side of things, before we transition into the other trade, what do they do with Hampus? Because Hampus is a UFA. Hampus Lindholm has been pretty damn good for him for a lot of years and this year. Like, he's been fine.
Again, this is a situation that depends on the market.
Mm-hmm.
I feel personally like there's a higher percentage chance that they keep him than trade him.
Yeah, I hope they keep him because he's been just a staple for that team.
He's been a staple, been around for a long time, pretty talented guy.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I think is a guy that you're going to want to keep around to play with Jamie Drysdale too.
Yes, he can definitely anchor Drysdale a bit.
Mm-hmm. So, if I'm the Ducks GM, I would definitely consider just keeping him and extending him.
Yeah, Pat Verbeek has some work to do with that.
He does. But I like this deal for the Ducks, man. I mean, think about it. You're essentially getting 2 second-round picks.
Pretty
Helleson
much,
was
yeah.
a 47th overall pick in
Hmm.
2019. You're getting the second-round pick this year, so
Not bad.
no, not a bad return at all.
Not bad.
He's
And
playing
then
at Boston College,
mhm.
and he had a pretty decent season.
Yeah, how's he looking?
He he had 4 goals and 21 assists for 25 points in 32 games.
Oh, not bad at all.
So,
For defenseman, right?
yep.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Think about it. 6'3" defenseman who weighs 190 pounds, right hand shot.
He's only going to get bigger.
Yeah, he's going to get bigger, going to get stronger. Put up 25 points in 32 games for
Yeah.
Boston College in the Big East.
Mm-hmm.
The Big East, Jesus Christ, Hockey East. Sorry, I got March Madness on my mind.
I know.
But no, I like it for them. I mean, that's another guy that you throw into the prospect pool for their defensive system.
Mm-hmm.
He's a guy who can make an impact for them long term.
Yeah, for sure. And then Sakic pulled more magic, like again just before we started recording this.
Yeah, I like this trade a lot.
It was 1-for-1, wasn't it? It was just Jost and Sturm.
Yep. So I think Tyson, as of right now, Nico Sturm's the better player.
Nico Sturm is definitely looks like the better player when you just consider the eye test.
Yes. I don't think that the difference is gigantic.
No.
But they're getting someone who I think is more playoff ready for their run. He's a guy that's going to play in the bottom 6, a big body, can really control the puck. He's got a long reach, very, very proficient defensively.
Played very well with guys like Bugstad.
Mm-hmm. He'll fill in the bottom 6 very well for Colorado and what they want to do.
Oh, yeah.
But for Minnesota, Tyson Jost is pretty good defensively. He's kind of stalled in his
because he's been, his development hasn't really, because he's been up and down in his ice time.
Yeah, it's hard to get ice time when you're behind guys like McKinnon and Kadri.
Yeah.
Hell, even JT Compher.
I was going to say JT took up a lot of Tyson's time. Yeah.
So it was a tough spot for him. And change the scenery, maybe some more ice time. Maybe this does good for him. It's very possible that he plays better in Minnesota and gets the development that he needs to become the player that they hope that he would become.
Could play with a kid like Boldy, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, for real. This guy, the hopes was that this guy was going to be a good two-way forward in the middle 6. He looked really, really good at UND. Mm-hmm. But
top 10 pick, right?
Yeah, he was 10th overall. So, I mean, there's a lot of potential there.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily just go away after a couple years.
Yeah, right.
It's just about how you develop him. And
the Avs just didn't really do that.
Minnesota's done a pretty good job of developing players. And the problem is there's a lot of organizations. I think Colorado does a good job of developing players, but it's hard to develop players when you're trying to win and you can't give time to young players.
Because you got to run the horses, right?
Exactly. So you think about it, like you think about a team like Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's not developing a lot of incredible superstar talented centers anymore, and it's because kind of had these 2 guys named Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin,
and then you go out and you get a guy like Jeff Carter.
Yeah, so certain organizations that are really good aren't really developing the next wave of great players because they're busy.
They have them locked in. Yeah,
exactly. So, I mean, I think about Washington too. Think about the fact that Washington, I mean, you got Nick Backstrom and Evgeny Kuznetsov down the middle and Lars Eller. So they trade a guy like Chandler Stevenson to the Vegas Golden Knights for a 5th round pick, and suddenly he's a really good player. Washington
is going to start having a bit of issues with that because Kuzi is just about to turn 30. So then all 4 of the centers are going to be 30 plus.
Yeah. and they're going to have to figure out a situation because I think it's either a free agent this year. Lars Eller, I think, is a free agent next year.
Yeah, they got one more
gonna
year.
have to, they're going to have to consider just letting him go because you're going to want to get more time for guys like Alexei Protas
Hmm.
and Connor McMichael.
Yes.
So, but I think that's just a perfect example of like Chandler Stevenson was a third round pick. He was a guy that they liked. They developed him through the minors, but they didn't have any space for him, and then he goes
They
to
just, yeah,
Vegas,
he was just expendable, and
look what's happened. Sure, he's getting a lot of help playing from guys like Max Pacioretty and Mark Stone, but
hmm
he's a good player too.
yeah,
So that's just kind of the situation they're in, and who knows? Maybe this is the situation. Maybe this is a Chandler Stevenson situation for Tyson Jost.
maybe, could be, maybe, yeah, because we know Nas can play both second and third line, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if Nas doesn't mind getting bumped down the line to give, or no, wait, I'm thinking the other way. Like that's, but you get what I'm trying to say though. Like if Nas could
Like
have,
you're gonna want to get more time. Like if I'm Minnesota right now, now that I got this kid, I want to give him more minutes than Victor Rask.
right?
So I would play him on the third line.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe try and see how he looks with Ryan Hartman.
Maybe, yeah.
That might not be the worst look.
No, especially with the way Heartsy's playing this year. Like, yeah.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, because you don't want to mess up the top two lines, especially with how well Joel Eriksson Ek plays, and obviously you got a guy like Kirill Kaprizov. They've got some good plays. It'd be interesting to put a line together of Tyson Jost with Jordan Greenway and Ryan Hartman.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Because Greenway is a good passer. Hartman is obviously finishing really well this year. He's been a sniper for them.
Yep.
And then I think you get the two-way game of Tyson Jost.
Yeah, I think a change of scenery could do a lot of good for both of these guys. I mean, we know Nico has been fine in Minnesota.
Yeah, Nico's been fine. He doesn't necessarily need a change of scenery. He's just going to a situation where he's going to be more valued in what he does for a team that's trying to win the cup. But I think this is a good change of scenery deal for Tyson Jost.
Yeah, for sure.